Hi everyone, my name is Mike Irvin. I am the Associate Home and Garden Editor at Sunset Magazine, and we're here today at the Sunset offices, and we are lucky to have with us Marlene Simon, who is the staff horticulturist at UC Davis Botanical Conservatory, and we're here to talk about all of these beautiful, wild, weird, and wonderful carnivorous plants. But before we get into that, I got to bring something up because Marlene, back in the day, was a Sunset intern.
Yes, for the test garden back in the day, many years ago when you guys were in Menlo Park. But then even then, yeah, it was. I just happened to have to take over for the test garden guy, and then I forget how long I was there, but it was a lot of fun. So I even modeled some fair weather gardening clothes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at some old issues.
I think my mom bought every copy of it that she could find. You know, proud mom.
That's great. And before we get into this too, what can you tell us about UC Davis Botanical Conservatory?
We've been around for over 50 years. A lot of people don't know we exist because we're sort of three very small, not very attractive greenhouses, but we house a lot of rare plants. We have a great carnivorous plant collection.
Cool.
Succulents, rare tropical plants. We're known for the corpse plant. We're one of the first places that actually got it to bloom.
That's the big stinky guy,
That's
right?
the big stinky guy, yeah. That people, they combine the Venus flytrap with that, and that's why kids think plants eat people.
Nice.
So two different plants,
Fun.
not even related. But we grow plants for labs, so students could see ancestral flowering plants instead of just looking at a picture.
Fun.
So I take care of the plants there, but we're open Monday through Friday to the public.
What time can you go?
About 9 to 5. We have very small staff, so if you go to greenhouse.ucdavis.edu, you could email us, and we'll let you know if we're having a big tour that day, and it's probably not a great time to go, but yeah, we love to have visitors.
Cool.
So,
And then all of these plants came from the conservatory,
yes,
right?
we are very lucky to have some of the world-renowned experts in carnivorous plants affiliated with us. Barry Rice, he's a volunteer. He's actually a physics professor, astronomy professor, and so we have great volunteers, and we've just amassed this great collection of them over the years, and of course they're a favorite of everyone's to see.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, where do you want to start?
Okay.
Take us
So
away.
first of all, why do plants eat insects?
Good question.
You stay awake at night thinking about this, right? Why? So basically they're from environments where the soils have no nutrients, or there really aren't any soil. So think peat bogs, where it's so low in, the pH is so low that nothing breaks down, and when it does, it becomes peat. So there's no nutrients. So freshwater wetlands, you could say. Or they grow up in the tropics, up as epiphytes, which are plants that grow up on other plants, but they're not parasites, so they don't, like mistletoe. They're not into the host plant, so they don't get anything. They're just using it like a coat hanger to get sunlight. So they grow where there's no soil.
Cool.
Others grow in little rocky seepage. So that is why. And over time, they've developed traps, and all their traps are leaves. So every modification that you see that is used to trap an insect is actually the leaf. A lot of times it's mimicking the flowers because, of course, pollinators, insects are attracted to flowers for various reasons. But they're all leaves, and they're not related to each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's something called convergent evolution, where plants take on similar characteristics based on their environment. You see it a lot with succulents, like a euphorbia will look like a cactus, but they're not related. They live in hot, dry areas. Here, they live in wet areas where there's no nutrients.
So they look very similar only because they grew up in a similar environment.
I wouldn't even say similar. They have the same adaptations.
Okay.
So if you look at these, they're not as similar, say, to each other, but the same mechanisms.
Cool.
So the first one we could look at actually is called a pitfall trap.
Yeah.
And pitfall, it's just passive way of collecting insects. So the easiest plant for home owners to grow are the Sarracenias. These are the American pitcher plants. And you can see, these are all leaves.
Beautiful.
And you can see the different varieties of colors, but where your eye goes to and where the insect's going to go to is usually up top, where there's sort of like a window effect. So imagine the light going through and it just glistens and shines.
Oh, they're beautiful.
They are really pretty. And you could see that underneath here, where it's shiny, there's nectar. Now, if you want to do so, you could actually wipe your finger right there and lick that. A little sweet, right?
A little sweet, yeah.
I expect to see that in the Sunset Test kitchen soon, right? And so it's sugar and it's water. Insects love it. They go to it, they explore, and they fall down into there.
So what happens? They basically they'll come onto here and then they just fall, or does this ever close?
No,
or?
this does not move. This is a passive trap. So there are hairs pointing down. There's probably a better amount of nectar possibly right here, so they get a little greedy. And then as they go down further, it becomes slippery and they fall in.
Whoa.
And it's either wet, so they automatically drown, or their wings are wet. A lot of times they get wedged in there and they can't get out. And there are enzymes that then get developed where it helps break them down.
Great.
Now these we grow outside. I live in Davis. This is where we're at. It's been 100 degrees for I think 33 days this summer. We have them out in the full blazing hot sun.
So if you kill plants, this is maybe a good way to go?
Yes, but there's a big...
Okay, they
need to stand in water. About at least 1 inch, 2 inches of water, and that water for all these, I'll just say in general, the water here needs to be reverse osmosis or distilled or deionized water. No nutrients. So if you have bad tap water, they're going to kill the plants. So I know people in Sacramento has really nice river runoff water. There are carnivorous plant growers who use Sacramento water, and it's okay, but always test it. Maybe get like a test plant first.
So if you bought one of these in the past and it died on you, it was probably because of tap water?
If you gave it tap water, yes. Yeah, so these will leave outside year-round as well. When the leaves start dying down, you'll see it, they start discoloring. They're seasonal leaves, they die down. And we'll cut them all the way down pretty much, so the next year the leaves will grow straight out. But you were drawn directly to this.
These guys right here.
So that's the flower of some of them. Their flowers come out in spring first, so they don't eat their pollinators. Because the pollinators are going after the nectar in there. If they then went to the leaves, the plant would eat the pollinators. So the flowers come out first, sort of fade away, and then the leaves come out. So they're beautiful. But I was going to cut one open.
Yeah, let's see.
Yes. So it's always fun to do this on tour with, we have tours at work, but adults love it too. So we'll see. This has been grown outside. I'm just going to split this leaf open. They're at their peak nectar production in spring. So let's see here. Let's see what we've got. Oh, there we go. And you could see they will eat anything. They don't discriminate. So unfortunately, it probably looks like it got a honeybee. They get, lace wings, which are beneficials, and a lot of wasps. That is a happy plant, I would say. So you could just see how they fall in there, and they would fill all the way up there. And people are like, well, what happens to it? Well, these leaves die down, so we cut them off, and that's what you would do.
So it's not like they're like getting burnt off by acid of the plant or something crazy.
But I mean, there are little enzymes that help. Like, think of our stomach juices that will help digest it. So I would say this is probably the easiest because you don't need a fertilizer. Remember, none of these want fertilizer. If you have enough insects outside, it's happy. Pure water, full sun. They could take pretty good amounts of frost. We leave them outside and it gets down into the 20s.
And what's the name of this one again? Sorry?
Sarracenia. And that has sort of a passive pitfall. And these are the America pitcher plants because they're found at the Darlingtonia californica, native to California, is in here. We don't have it. It actually like serpentine soil, so it's a little bit finicky to grow, but the Carolinas as well. So the other pitfall trap are the Nepenthes. And those are going to be your Southeast Asian tropical plants. Pitcher plants, I should say. So I'm just going to move this here. And what I want to show you here is, let's see. So you can see here that this is the leaf. And the tip of the leaf forms into the trap. So a lot of people think they're flowers. And when it rains, they fill up with water. Let's see if we get some water. Oh, these ones are all empty. Well, we'll do it in a little bit. There we go. There's some water. And if we're lucky, we would have gotten some nice, slimy, digestive juices out of that. Same thing. Same thing happens when it's ready. This lip opens up. There's nectar. Insects walk around this area. There's actually some more nectar glands on a lot of them that form under here. And entices them to go there, and they fall into there. Same thing. They get digested. And people go, well, how do they get the nutrients through the leaf? Well, I grew up watching those fertilizer commercials where the guy was standing there, with his coffee cup in one hand and fertilizing it, foliar uptake. So plants take things up through their leaves, and these are leaves. So that's how they are able to get the nutrients. Now, these are not for the beginner carnivorous plant because they need tropical conditions. So some you might get away with growing in your windowsill in trays of water, but we don't grow these necessarily sitting in trays of water. There's highland species and lowland species. The lowlands could sit in trays of water. The highland species really don't like to sit in water. I would say maybe start with the Sarracenia or something else because the humidity and then the temperature. So these never want to be outside in the heat or with the real cold. So think tropical. These ones we fertilize with slow release fertilizer pellets every once in a while.
Right.
When they start looking a little anemic, like this one's starting to look a little yellow.
Getting a little yellow there.
Yeah, we'll drop a little pellet in there.
Okay.
Because we don't have the insects large enough inside the greenhouse for them to eat.
Gotcha.
I should say 2 different soil mixtures, and I'll go into that in a bit. But, So pitfall traps.
Fun.
Next one, sticky traps.
Ooh.
So, shiny. So let's pretend I got a lace wing.
Oh, yeah.
So my finger's an insect. It sees all the shiny nectar, but it's not really nectar. This is false nectar. As the insect lands on it and it tries to get away, you could see how slimy and sticky that is, and it can't get away. I always say that the plant goes, mwah, ha, 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 like that, and digests.
So how does it work? So what's going to happen to this lacewing right here?
Slowly gets digested, and the nutrients will get taken up by it.
So how long will this sort of carcass be on the plant?
Until it degrades naturally, yeah. So, I mean, these things are going to degrade anyways. Natural, decomposition's it's all over. I tell kids when they're passing it around, I'm like, hey, remember, don't eat this. It's fake nectar. Feels like snot. And half of the time that doesn't bother them. And
No,
like,
but that's exciting.
So this here is probably the easiest, by far, carnivorous plant to grow.
Okay.
This one is a Drosera capensis. It actually can get quite weedy because the flowers will form into seeds. And a lot of people think, it curls to hold onto its prey.
Right.
This one will move and curl, but this curling will take hours. So what it's doing is not necessarily holding onto its prey, it's adding more mucus to help degrade it more. So it's curling over it, yes, take hours. If you have like sort of a time-lapse camera, you'll see it move, but it's not like everyone's favorite, the Venus flytrap.
So it's just producing snot, mucus.
Yes, exactly, to break things down. Yes. So probably the easiest one to grow by far.
Is there a common name for this one?
Sundew.
Sundew.
So this is the sundew family.
Okay.
Let's see here, some other ones. Oh, you could just see the pinguiculas. Aren't they so shiny
This one
and
with the
pretty?
purple
Yes.
flower, right?
And the butterworts here, it feels just very slimy. There are little hairs that actually have glands on them, but to us it just feels like,
Wow, it is slippery and it is pretty cool.
And the pinguiculas, I'll just start moving into soil a little bit. The pinguiculas, they're called butterworts.
Okay.
Even though they're a sticky trap, they are different. They're not related to the Droseras necessarily, different genus. We grow those in our succulent mix.
Okay.
Which is odd because these are water-loving plants, and you think, your succulent mix. But they some of them grow on little rocky seepage areas, so they need quick draining soil.
Okay.
So we don't have them necessarily in that boggy type wet soil.
So that's just this guy that's getting that?
Just the pinguiculas,
Okay.
yes. And then, this is a pinguicula here and as well there.
And do they all produce these little pretty purple
Pretty
flowers?
much those ones have purple, lavender, slight white flowers. Yeah, you won't see a yellow flower or red on them.
And so they bloom at this time of year, I guess, in late
throughout,
summer?
Yeah, out throughout, scattered throughout.
Fun.
Yeah. So then we'll get to everyone's favorite.
Yes.
Which is the Venus flytrap.
Right.
So where are Venus flytraps from?
They're from Venus,
okay,
right?
See, I had said I was going to ask you, and you, I didn't even have to prompt you. That's what you said. So I love when kids say that, or it's not as funny when adults say it. Sorry, it's not as cute, I should say. But yes, so because most people go, the Amazon, South America, Australia, North Carolina.
North Carolina,
the Carolinas.
I didn't know that.
I know. See, so they're related to the Droseras, the same family, and so they're in freshwater bogs, very open. So the few reasons why people kill them when they get them.
Okay.
I always ask this is, first of all, don't go to a big box store and buy them.
So don't go to IKEA.
Do they have them there?
I don't know. Any
Down
of
in their
those stores?
basement? No. So the reason is they've been shipped. They probably haven't been taken care of, and just that little bit of travel time could not be best for them.
Right.
Another reason I just said kill them, is I just said they're in open water bogs outside. Yep. So if you think about the Carolinas, it's pretty sunny there.
Yeah, it could get humid.
It could get humid, but because they're in the water, so they like full sun.
Okay.
So if you grow them inside by a windowsill, it's not sunny enough.
Right.
So people bring them inside thinking they're tropical,
Yep.
and they die. They need to be grown outside. If you want to grow them inside, you could try growing them under a fluorescent light. Even better, the new LED lights. And if you want to go even in the metal halide lights and stuff, but they need supplemental light.
What if you had like a big old sunroom kind of thing?
If you have a big sunroom, yes, that's possible.
Okay.
Yes.
But ideally, maybe outside in the sun?
If your because even inside in a sunroom, it may not be the strength of sun that, as outside. Another reason people kill them is they give them tap water. As I said, these plants are adapted to areas where they're not going to get any nutrients in the soil or even in the water. In some parts of the country, horrible tap water. I joke that, Venus flytrap is going to see Davis tap water coming and die even before it's on there because it's so harsh and full of boron and salts.
Okay.
So reverse osmosis distilled or deionized water is the best.
So it's a bit of work. It's something an extra step, but it's
an
worth
extra step.
it.
Yes, and that water should sit about an inch. So it needs to sit into a tray up there. And the last thing, don't keep putting your fingers in and closing it up.
Okay.
It will take a few days to open back up when it hasn't eaten. And if you keep doing that, I say it's like running 3 marathons in a row without eating or drinking, you're going to die. Right?
So if you close them all up, they have nothing to eat.
And it's a lot of energy. It takes a lot of there's the sensitive plant mimosa. That doesn't take a lot of energy to close. This takes a lot of energy. So just when I say that, I'm going to actually close one.
Oh, let's get a close up of this.
So remember, these are leaves, and on each side of the leaf blade, there are little trigger hairs. So it knows something alive is in there. It doesn't want to close if a dead leaf fell in there.
Okay.
So I'm going to tickle those hairs, and hopefully this one is camera ready, and we'll close. There it goes.
Awesome.
So, and notice it's not closed all the way.
Right.
If the insect was in there, it would be triggering those hairs to close and tighten even more. So if you have to feed your carnivorous plant something dead that you just killed, you should still try to get something in there to wiggle it. Don't feed it hamburger meat.
Right.
Don't find a dead insect that's been dead for a while that has no nutrient value in it. One of our volunteers has been giving it the bloodworms and mealworms. Okay. And you could actually get crickets and freeze them and then give them, defrost them and give them there.
Really?
So as long as it fits in there, you want it to be able to close and no parts stick out of it.
Okay.
So, but that, I'm not going to say not as difficult, but those are the ways people kill them normally. And I know it's fun to do that, right?
Yeah. And how long can this guy survive? Like how many, is this like last years? I mean.
We cycle through ours fast because they go to labs.
Okay.
And students do that and they're in the dry room with not a lot of light, but they can last for years and years.
Really?
Interesting thing about the Venus flytraps is you could propagate them from seed, but also leaf cuttings.
Oh, interesting.
So this is a whole entire leaf, and if you pull the leaf out, there's this little white section down below, and you could just put that in peat moss soil and it'll grow like an African violet leaf.
Okay.
It grows just like that. So yeah, you could propagate them through leaf cuttings. Same with the Drosteras.
Is this the mix that you use?
Okay, so the mix,
how does that work?
The mix that we use for the Sarracenias and the sundews is what we call our CP, carnivorous plant mix.
Okay.
And there's variations, but this is what we've used for years and really like, and it works. And it is equal parts peat moss, sand, and the sand is going to be horticultural grade sand.
Okay.
You'd find nurseries, and perlite.
Okay.
And we mix that. Now the peat moss can't contain any fertilizers.
Okay.
So if you see a fertilizer or a peat moss bag that has added fertilizers, don't buy that.
Okay.
So just equal parts of that mixed in, and that's what we use for the Sarracenias.
For these guys.
Yeah, and the sundews. Now the Nepenthes, and I should say the Venus flytraps as well.
Okay.
So the Nepenthes.
So this guy is good for the Venus.
Yes.
flytraps.
You're just like, hold on, how do I grow the Venus flytrap? That's what I want to know. Okay. Skip everything else. So the Nepenthes, because a lot of them are epiphytes, they grow up high.
Yep.
They're not really in any type of bog or soil, and we grow those in the sphagnum moss, which is really a type of moss. They just harvest it, and you want to wet this first with good water. You don't want to wet this with your tap water and then plant it in. So all this gets wetted down with good water, and then we add perlite to it.
And can you find these things sort of at your...
This is a little bit trickier to find, I will admit.
Okay.
So there is a great nursery out in Sebastopol called California Carnivorous.
Okay.
The best place. So you could buy that. You could buy probably those at an orchid store as well, because you could grow orchids in sphagnum.
Yep.
We used to mix pumice in, and because pumice is also a sort of a volcanic mineral output, we noticed it gets a little bit more alkaline. So the perlite stays a little bit more pH stable. So Yeah.
Cool. And then I noticed on this guy, it says it's male. What does that mean?
Yes, so the Nepenthes actually are unusual that there are male and female plants.
Okay.
So a lot of these are rare. They're collectibles, and we want more of them, right? So we always want one just in case the extras, just in case they die, but also selling off more for the collection. So we know that this is a male. We don't have to wait for it to flower.
Yep.
So say that someone's willing to give one up to us. Hey, we have a female one. Like, great. So then we could cross-pollinate them and get seeds from that.
Okay.
Because that way we get more. But this one you could do cuttings. The Nepenthes, you could do cuttings. Their roots are black. So when we do cuttings and you pull them out, and you're like, oh, the roots are dead. No, they're actually black roots.
That's just how they roll.
They're still alive.
Right.
So more difficult to propagate than the Droceras and the Venus flytraps, which you could do the leaf cuttings of. But yeah, that's and you can see how weedy the Drosera is right there. It just pops up everywhere. So that one is a good one to start with.
And do you sell these plants at UC Davis Botanical Conservatory?
We do. So we're not going to sell our rare ones off, our unique ones, because we want them, but we do have collectors that will arrange to come through.
Yep.
But we sell a lot of plants that we propagate, house plants, carnivorous plants, succulents at the Arboretum.
Okay.
UC Davis Arboretum plant sales, and I think there's one coming up at the beginning of October. So there's 3 in the fall and 4 in the spring. And so we'll bring the Sarracenias we sell a lot of because they are the easiest one for people to grow.
Gotcha.
I mean, that would be the number one I would recommend because it's sort of takes care of itself as long as you could remember to fill up the tray with a little bit of water. And other people, oh yeah, I'm going to put it in my pond. No, think of how many nutrients in your pond. Think of when you add water, there's a lot of chlorine in your water. So they're not pond plants.
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
Okay. And then so where, sometimes I see these like sold online and that kind of thing. Would you avoid that? Because then it's to ship to you or?
It's, like anything online. There's reputable places and not so good. So if it is a reputable place, they know how to ship them. They would take them out of the pot, wrap up the roots, and ship them. But you would get a feeling if they were good or bad. So we actually sell them.
You sell them online?
Yeah. One of our volunteers, Barry Rice, who actually is an expert in them, he's taken some of our better clones and selling them. So I think he's selling them on eBay. So if you actually, I should know.
And Barry Rice?
He'll probably pop up.
Good.
Yeah, he'll probably pop up on other websites that we won't mention, but I'm just kidding. Other carnivorous plant websites.
Of course, that's it. That's what you're talking about.
Yes. So, but yeah, of course. I mean, we are very lucky to have that nursery by us.
Yep.
We're open to the public. We sell these at our plant sales. That's not necessarily our goal. We do that as just a side thing. So, but we do have a great collection that, it's a kid's favorite, people's favorite when they come through on tour to see.
And how old are these guys? I mean, these guys are tall, they're pretty big. I mean, how long have these been
Those
going?
would only be a few years old.
Okay.
So they can be propagated by dividing.
Yep.
So like this one here is very close to being divided.
Right.
So don't divide them until they're literally busting out of their pot.
Right.
And then you could just take a serrated knife and go ahead and cut them. This one, I would cut this one.
You can feel it bulging out a little bit.
Help me. Serrated knife, cut them in half, plant them. Ideally, it doesn't even, we do them. I ripped a whole bunch out. We have these dioramas that we grow them in.
Yep.
I ripped a whole bunch out and planted them. That's not the ideal time. You don't want to do it when they're flowering or coming into flower, obviously, but they're used to it. So these are very easy to divide up. They'll just keep spreading and spreading and spreading.
Do they get any taller? I mean,
these won't get much taller.
So
the flowers actually get a little bit taller.
Right.
Yeah, even when they bloom, the flowers will be there, and then the leaves will come up. So in the wild, you'll see them with the leaves all doing
curled up.
There's no one there to prune the leaves off for them. So when the new leaves come up, they have to make their way through them. So we slowly start cutting them down as they age.
And what color are these guys when they're? Because
they're similar to that. It'll be a green with a red edge to it.
Right.
Right there. So a lot of times they hang down. There's one actually that smells like cat urine.
Oh, really?
The flowers smell like cat urine. So we have hundreds of them blooming, and I'm like, man, did I bring something with me to work? Oh no, it's the flowers blooming.
Well, I noticed on this one there's a bit of a smell. I can't really pinpoint what it is.
That could be the rotting insects in there. No, actually some of them, I think it's the leucophila, which this one, it may have a nice fragrance to it. And the nectar is going to smell, no matter what, a little sweet to it.
Okay.
I think it's the flava that has the cat urine smell, the Sarracenia flava that has the cat urine smell.
And you don't have that one here?
Well, we have it, but it's not in bloom.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's springtime is the bloom time for those.
Okay.
So.
And then,
oh yeah, this one over
here.
Yes, isn't this one fun? It's the Nepenthes bicalcarata, and this one, I mean, people think it's Dracula.
Yeah.
But really, those are just extra nectary spots. So there's this, they're sticky right there. So they look like fangs, and people want to say, oh my gosh, they're going to eat something. But no, it's just extra nectar, and then the insects fall into there. So there are cases of Nepenthes eating mammals.
Really?
They have
how big of a mammal?
A rat, small snakes.
Okay.
But it's by accident, and that's not their main food source. Some of them actually have. There's one that has a symbiotic relationship with a vole, which is a little insect. It'll sit on the edge, and it'll actually be pooping into the trap as it's licking the nectar. So the plant gets shrew poo, manure, and the shrew gets the nectar, and everyone's happy. So there's symbiotic relationships, like this one here, Alba marginata, which I think is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah, that's
termites will eat this white rim right here. That's what that is. It's
that's why it's white?
Right there. There's sort of a nutritious value right there. And then, of course, so many termites come, some are going to fall into there. So there are other cases where worms and insects actually live inside the pitchers. And they're happy in there. So commensalism, where they're getting something out of it, not harming the carnivorous plant. So there's some symbiotic relationship, some commensalism. One's getting something, the other's not. And decomposition is going to happen anyway. So, if a rat does fall into there, it's not like, oh, the plant just ate a rat. It's digesting the rat, of course, but it just fell in there. It's probably hurting it more so, too. It could put weight on it or just overload the plant.
Okay.
But
cool.
Yeah, and for running out of time, just remember, Venus flytrap's not going to bite your finger off.
Right.
I always tell kids, unless I tell it to. unless you're not behaving. And I was saying the corpse plant, they morph the corpse plant into the Venus flytrap, and that's why kids and people think that they're, video games that animals eat them. And last thing that I have to say, I could talk forever, is pests. These will get the same generic pests that most other plants get. Mealybugs, scale, aphids on the flowers. Not so much, but I think I actually brought one with scale and thrips. And of course, you don't want to use any strong chemical in those anyways on any plant. So wiping off neem oil when the sun's not directly hitting them. You never want to use the neem oil when it's 85 degrees or above. Soap sprays are okay, but make sure it's diluted with good water. And I think that's it. I was going to say one more thing, but I forgot.
Well, and then just again, we'll repeat. So this is the easiest guy to grow.
Sarracenias.
Sarracenians. Venus flytrap.
It takes a little work. Remember, it needs sun, and it's the water, and you got to resist wanting to put your finger in there, right? Yes. And then I would say, the Droceras. So Sarracenias and these Droceras.
And what's the common name for this guy?
Sundew. Sundew, sort of the whole group of them. So this is Drosera compensis. It's probably the easiest one, because you'll have multiples of them too, because that one sets seeds and that one keeps growing out like that.
Fun. All right. So this has been tons of fun and very informative, but also I think you have social media. Can we plug you there?
Who doesn't have social media?
So where can people find you?
My Facebook page, which is Marlene the Plant Lady. And on Instagram, Simon Says Garden.
Simon Says Garden.
Simon Says Garden. And my UC email is mrsimon@ucdavis.edu. So send questions. I answer questions on my Plant Lady.
On Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook,
Great. So go visit Marlene too up at the UC Davis Botanical Conservatory. Open pretty much 9 to 5, 5 days a week.
Correct. And on weekends for special occasions.
Fun. Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for watching.